We'll invite her to play as she feels led. And thank you, Lynn. Are there any announcements that need to be made? I'm not aware of any, but
I got right after I completed the newsletter this week. We got the meeting got a letter from the yearly meeting thanking us for our donation at the end of the year. I had originally thought I would just wait and put it in next newsletter, and then I got to thinking, oh, no, I'll just put out an updated or addendum. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'll scan it and send it out to people this week. It's a nice letter thanking us for our generosity.
Joyce or concerns to share this morning?
Well, I went to the doctor Friday. I had to go for my annual 6-month visit. Of course, I hadn't lost any weight, so she wasn't happy. But I was sitting in the waiting room, and this lady came and sit next to me and just began to talk about all her tales of woe. She has so many things going on wrong in her life, and I just felt so sorry for her. And I asked her what her name was, and she said, Rachel, like in the Bible. And I said, well, Rachel, I'm going to pray for you. So I put her in my hand washing list of prayers, but I would really appreciate it if you'd all pray for Rachel because she's got so much going on with her, and I know she would appreciate it.
I think lots of people know Louis and Dinah Geiger, and you know that Louis has been having health problems for quite a while. He has to have another surgery this coming week, and so I'm sure they would appreciate our thoughts and prayers as well.
On the cousin news front, cousin Bert Mills, Sylvia's brother, is having shoulder surgery this coming week to repair a damaged shoulder. Some of you from the West Newton area may remember Joan Abel. Joan married my cousin Barry Hoover in 1962, and they have been in Florida ever since. Joan passed away about a month ago, and memorial service for her will be tomorrow in Satellite Beach, Florida. I'm sorry that I can't be there, But talked to Barry, cousin Barry, a day or two ago, and think he's comfortable with it. And she was ill for a number of years, and so I think it's probably a blessing that she passes on. But some of you may remember the Obels who lived there in West Newton, and were faithful members of not West Newton Friends, but West Newton Methodist Church. So, but we let Methodists into the family occasionally.
I want to thank everyone for their prayers for Dick and me, and say that we're definitely on the upswing, and
Was before.
and yeah, more prayers may be helpful.
You mentioned Chuck was there. Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to mention. You already told them that.
Well, as we center into silence, let's take some time to lift these concerns to God. There are many on our hearts. Lots of folks need prayers at this time, and we have, at the same time, much to be grateful for as well. Chip's our worship leader this morning, so he will speak as led out of the silence. Let's, again, rest in the love and light of our loving God who leads us and cares for us and watches over us.
Well, good morning, friends. I hope I got these pages in order. I hate that new computer. I'm really happy that Brent was able to join us. Lynn and I had talked about, she didn't think she was going to be here, so there wouldn't be any music. And I said, well, I could sing some hymns or some songs before and after. And Brent, I don't know if it was Jesus or if it was Brent, but he got off his bed so I wouldn't be singing today. I think he was so worried that I would sing some Broadway show tunes. Well, the last time I was on the facing bench was New Year's Eve. I hope that the new year has been good for you so far and that you are able to stick with your New Year's resolutions. My resolutions are really goals I want to achieve in the next 6 months. Get hearing aids, visit the eye doctor, because I may need new glasses, go to the dentist, and lose 25 pounds. That's according to my doctor. Now, a lot of my friends said they wanted a do-over after a few weeks of the new year because this didn't go right for so many people. Well, if you feel you need a do-over, you can celebrate like I do the Chinese New Year. The Chinese New Year is Saturday, February the 10th, also known as the Lunar New Year or Spring Festival. Chinese New Year is celebrated at the second moon following the winter solstice. This festival marks the end of winter and the beginning of long-awaited spring. According to the Chinese zodiac, 2024 will be the year of the dragon. So that's just in case you want to do over, you've got another chance. My reference for today are from Wikipedia, the films Hair and Lifeboat, quotes from famous people, and the Bible. I would like to start with Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Two movies showed up for me this month, so continuing my message on movies God sent me, I will start off with Hair, a 1979 American musical anti-war film based on the 1968 Broadway musical Hair, American tribal love rock musical. Set against the backdrop of a hippie commune of the world in Vietnam era, the film focuses on a Vietnam War draftee who meets and befriends a tribe of hippies while en route to the Army induction center. The hippies and their leader introduce him to marijuana, LSD, and their involvement in unorthodox relationships and draft evasion. Several of its songs became anthem of the anti-Vietnam War peace movement. So I thought, well, God wants me to do an anti-war message? As we've seen to be on the edge of what could be World War III. If Russia takes over Ukraine and moves to Poland, we will have boots on the ground rather than sending money and supplies. If in the Middle East, things blow up and other nations get involved, well, once again, we're in it. China is making waves with Taiwan. North Korea is playing footsies with Russia and doing lots of missile testing. I could go on, but we all know what kind of a mess Okay, I don't have these in order. Well, anyway, it's in a mess. I don't know where my page went. Oh, so whoever knows the right thing to do, and oh, that's not right. Well, I'm sorry. I got these numbered wrong. Well, this is embarrassing. Well, I don't know what was next, and now a word from Walter Cronkite. War itself is, of course, a form of madness. It's hardly a civilized pursuit. It's amazing how we spend so much time inventing diverse devices to kill each other and so little time working on how to achieve peace. And then there's Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, "It isn't enough to talk about peace, one must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it, one must work at it." Now wait, this is turning into a anti-war message, and I didn't want to do that. World peace is my wish, but right now we have a lot going on in the United States, and believe me, we are not united. James 4:17. So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it for him, it is a sin. Well, now I remember what I left out about hair. I thought, well, does God want me to do an anti-war? Which of course he didn't, I didn't think. I wasn't sent this movie because I was longing to relive my days as a hippie. But what I did think about was Drake turning 16 in May, and my grandson is too young to go to war. In 2 years, he'll be 18. And if they still register for the draft, he would have to do that. And I think about in the song that Lynn played, two young kids meeting on the battlefield, neither one wanting to be there and having to shoot each other. It just is totally beyond my comprehension. Well, now back to my script. And this brings us to Lifeboat, a 1944 American survival film directed by Alfred Hitchcock from a story by John Steinbeck. It stars Tallulah Bankhead and William Bendix. Eight British and American civilians are adrift in a lifeboat and after their ship and the German U-boat sink each other. A German survivor is also taken aboard the boat. The film is set entirely in a lifeboat. The film is unique among Hitchcock films for having no musical score during the narrative. The Fox Studio Orchestra was only used to play the beginning and the end credits. The film, of course, is an anti-war film, but for me, it is so relevant to what is going on today. I will set the stage. The film opens with the ship sinking. All you see is one of the smokestacks with smoke coming out of it. You hear some kind of horn blowing, fire comes out the smokestack, and by the end of the credits, all you see is water. The camera moves slowly and you see a few things floating by. Then you see lots of things as the camera pulls back and you see Tallulah Bankhead sitting in her lifeboat, looking like she just stepped out of a photo shoot, every hair in place, and surrounded by all her belongings, trunks, bags, typewriter, and a movie camera, which she happens to be using to film the sinking of the ships. Miss Bankhead is a writer in the movie. Soon other people get in the lifeboat. The engineer room crew, a radio man, a wealthy industrialist, a young British woman with her child, a nurse, a porter, a man of color, and a German sailor. Now, what I found really interesting was the fact that this film was made in 1944, and the people in the lifeboat are having the same problems that we are having today. First off, two people are fighting to see who gets to be in charge, the industrialist and the engineer man. Later on, as they travel, it's like, who gets to vote? Who can be trusted? Why can't we compromise? Can we work together? The film's moral, according to Hitchcock, was that allies needed to stop bickering and work together to win the war. Now, a quote from the Dalai Lama. Peace does not need an absence of conflicts. Differences will always be there. Peace means solving these difficulties through peaceful means, through dialogue, education, knowledge, and through humane ways. As we go into our quiet time, I would like for you to think about what you can do for peace. Maybe all you can do is pray. It seems like a small thing, but I remember a story about a monk that was new and he was put to work in the kitchen to do dishes. And there were lots and lots of dishes. And he walked in and he goes, I don't even know where to begin. This is going to take forever. And the older monk told him, you start with one dish. That's all you worry about. Just doing the one dish. And then you'll finally get to the end. But just worry about the one thing. So if all we can do is pray, then we need to pray. So if all you can do is pray, then pray and remember Luke 1:37. Nothing will be impossible with God. Now, I ran this by Troy last night, and he goes, well, it's anything but a peace message. It's anti-war. So I will try to do better my next time. May the light of God surround you. May the love of God enfold you. May the power of God protect you. And may the presence of God watch over you. For wherever you are, God is.
Thank you, Chip. I'm in a book club, and one of the books that we read a few months ago was Lifeboat, and it was very interesting.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn, for your offerings. We'll now continue with unprogrammed worship for those who can stay, and for those who can't, we bid you Godspeed and a good week ahead.
Thank you, Chip.
Fine message, Chip.
Thank you, Chip. See you next week. Hope.
The older I get, the more I believe in the power of prayer, and the more I feel that I don't really understand how it works. Yeah, I find myself thinking more and more, well, God's already involved in the situation of my friend who needs prayer, or all the many messes we make in the world. God's already there. Yeah, so I don't understand quite why it is that it's important for me to pray, because I'm not really reminding God or asking God or begging God or whatever, but I know it's important whether I understand it or not. And one of the ways that I know it's important is because as Steve and I have walked down this path of his illness, I have felt your prayers and the prayers of other friends. And I know they work. I know whether or not the outcome is what we might wish, we're not alone. Praying for each other helps us be together in difficult places. So even though I find myself not really understanding how prayer works, I seriously appreciate your reminder, Chip, of the need to hold things like world peace or each other in prayer. God is already involved in these things, but somehow praying gets us involved too. And I appreciate all that you have shared with us this morning.
In the course of my work, I often see two people who used to love each other who are now implacable enemies to each other. And I have struggled over the years on how it is that I could possibly persuade them that to lay down arms. And a couple of times I've had conversations with people about what their children would want. Their children do not want one of them to win. Their children want to have two parents. And they want to be able to go to their soccer, they want both parents at the soccer game without worrying that there's going to be the police called. And there have been occasions when that conversation resonated with the parties enough so that it made a difference. And I don't think I'm particularly special. I think they were ready to hear it, and they would have heard it from someone else if they hadn't heard it from me. But I do struggle with how to respond to people who are absolutely unwilling and to move in a direction that would bring about, peace in their own little world and peace for their children. Who value their desire, their opportunity to prevail over all other things. I'm reminded that that in the 12-step world, step one is we admitted we were powerless, and that and later that we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, and that in that same way, the notion that prayer might be the bridge that carries us over our own powerlessness, that brings in that higher power, that brings in something, someone, some power that will, bring us to the peace beyond our understanding. And I struggle with prayer. Sometimes I sit around and marinate my own anxiety and consider that prayer, please God. But I'm not always as organized or as thorough or as thoughtful as I think I should be, and I'm thinking now that if I can just understand my own powerlessness, even over my own scattered thoughts. Just read a poem. My yoga teacher read us a poem yesterday to think about your wandering thoughts as a shepherd looks for his lost sheep to bring them home. So too, I try and bring home all those that wandering worries and concerns into the herd, so we may commit ourselves again to the love of God.
hearts clear? Well,
Thank
we'll
you for
end
playing,
worship then.
Lynn.
What'd you say, Chip?
I said thank you, Lynn, for playing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts, Chip. Obviously, you got some of us thinking, and that's, I think, a sign of a good sermon.
Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
Finlandia. That's my utter favorite.
Well, I teased Chip when he emailed me and said, these are the two hymns I want you to play. Yeah, I emailed him back and said, those are your favorites, aren't they? Yeah, because oftentimes they're the ones that he asks to play, but asks me to play. But that's fine. I like them too.
Well, it's good to see everyone and hope to see you next week.
Good to see everyone.
I'll be there for Friday for lunch.
Okay. I have cheese ready.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.